Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Painting the Pieces. My name is Kris, and I'm finishing up a painting named Genie. And Genie is composed of a person, lady, coming out of a bottle like a genie, but she has a bone structure. So the hip bones below and the rib cage are contained in the drawing. And this is just acrylic on canvas paper. And probably the first thing that you see is it's pretty rippled. And that is because at no point did I tape this down to a board. And when that happens and it gets too wet, like in this case it's all watercolor, but even in acrylic, this can happen. And so it starts to get very folded. And so I'm going to show you at the end of this painting how to straighten out canvas paper or any sort of paper that's gotten in this sort of wobbly place, and it will straighten right out. So that's nice. So I'm just continuing along with some of the details. As I said, I'm using, or no, I don't think I did say, watercolors, and the brand is the Light Wish. I do have a couple other different watercolors that I'm going to use in the future, but I always like to say which ones I'm using at this time. And later on in this same painting, I will be using some titanium white golden fluid acrylics. So I'll say what that is at that time, and it's just to make sort of the clouds that come out of the bottle at the bottom. So just now I had some orange on top of this red, and it had way too much water. So you saw that I took a paper towel and just dabbed that back out and then put in another layer of the orange, but with much less water. So that's what happened there. And now I'm using sap green for the leaves. And just getting those in. Believe it or not, I speeded up this video, and not to 2 as I usually do, but this still looks very, very slow. So I'm always reminded of how slow I am real time. This was a painting that I had started maybe 8 months ago. It's been quite a while. And it got buried under other things that I needed to get completed. Either there was a show coming up or someone had purchased something. I was working on framing and matting of other pieces, so this just got pushed to the bottom. But it was about, I'd say 3/4 anyway finished, and I just wanted to finish it up and plus get it straightened so that I could put it in a frame. It's another just whimsical piece. The lady holding the fish that either just came out of the fish bowl or fell out. Looks like it fell out with the drops at the side. And putting it back in while his or her friend is waiting in the bowl. And then 2 of my usual sort of goofy looking birds. And the gears that hold the hands in place from those birds. Just kind of a little fun piece. We are just coming out of what has been a very long winter, a very cold May, and whimsical pieces are just back in my mind. I think everybody here is sort of waiting for summer and to get back outside when it's a little bit nicer weather and sunshine. So this just sort of fills in the gap for me that I can work on a little whimsy. I do have some other things coming up for the channel. A larger abstract that's based on a floral or garden design and photos that I took of the poor flowers that decided to bloom early. And I covered so that they did not freeze. This year I bought what I thought were annuals at a time when the freeze warnings had ended. But after I had them in the ground, I would say about 2 weeks, we had a freeze warning at night, so I had to go out and cover them. And they did make it. So I have dahlias and hellebores and things that you'll see in the paintings that are coming up. Well, the one painting that I did before this, or two, did have some of those flowers in it, but there'll be a larger, more abstracted piece coming up. I try to have shorts ready for painting so people get a little sneak preview of what the long video is going to be, and that way if they see something that interests them, they can come over to the channel and watch the longer version. I'm hoping always that people will think about subscribing. I'm learning more and more about YouTube that if you have views, I guess primarily now, and then subscribers, they push your videos out to more people. And that's always beneficial just from lots of different standpoints. But for right now, I'm just working on the paintings that I need to, or that I want to get finished, like this one, things that were started. So I'm fine. But appreciate likes and subscribes for the reasons you all know. I had put the whimsical pieces aside a little bit. That's another reason why this one sort of got buried. I don't know, there's certain moods that strike you, and at least that's how I work, unless, I have commissions. And so those always take the priority. You go into the studio workspace, and those are on the easel, or they're in progress in some way, and so you just start working on them. Plus, they're on my mind. I'm thinking about them, even when I'm not aware really that I'm thinking about them, or when I'm working in the garden. And so they're the ones that are they take priority in that way. I found doing the piece at your service that I really liked having the watercolor down first, just to sort of set the palette. And in some cases, I've just left it as the watercolor, in the case of Solar Catwalk. And other times I think I need a little bit more opacity, and so I go back in with an acrylic. I'm not sure now with the larger paintings that I was talking about, the florals, that I won't set those in acrylic. I don't use watercolor on very large canvases. And then maybe get the oils out, because it's starting to get nice, and I can have the oils out with the windows open. And if you've ever worked in oil, I mean, it is my top favorite. Just the way the colors blend and the glazing that you can do. That reminds me, I should do some sort of a comparison just to show you two paintings. And I'm pretty good now with acrylics, so that people a few times have said, is this oil? So that's always good to hear, because it means that I haven't completely lost the chops that I had for using oil paint. But there's just something different about oil. And I used it for so many years on large canvases that I still enjoy it. So I'm going in with kind of a sky blue color, and getting those ribs sections anyway a little bit more defined. I'm trying to keep the palette very limited. Even the introduction of blue, I wasn't sure that I wanted to do, and I might paint it out, but I did want to have blue in the fishbowl, say, so I did put it in other areas. Just because in a painting you have to do that. If you have it in one area, it's good to have it in other areas as well. But I can see I'm going to have to go in and make the area behind the ribs a darker blue, so that the rib bones really stand out. And this is just the pleats in the top of a sleeve. I kept that with the orange, or that sort of golden color. And they were just a little wet on the bottom, so I'm just dabbing those out as you do with paper towel. There were some areas that really had a lot of water on them, and I think that's because I was doing those floral pieces before this, and the last couple of weeks of my videos, and I use a lot of water in those, and I'd forgotten that you can't quite use that much water when you're doing something like this, which is a more detailed piece that kind of has to say more controlled and defined, whereas the water with the flowers, I'm not really that concerned. I like the flowers pretty abstract and to run into each other, so it's a much looser way of working. I did want to get that vine to go through the holes of those hip pelvic structures, and so I just did that just with a graphite pencil. This area is pretty dry, so you can see I'm not getting any bleed with the graphite at all. And then there's little sort of, I don't know, buttonhole tabs that come up from that skirt, I guess, for lack of a better word, which I'm just kind of defining there. I'll go back in with the sap green and get the rest of these leaves. I keep turning the canvas paper, as you can see, just to get my hand out of wet areas. So often I put the heel of my hand down in a wet area, and you can transfer that to another part of the painting that you never meant for that to happen. So it's just easier to turn it. And as I've said before, as you're turning it, you get another look, and that's good too, because you can see this is not working. It might be working at one side for you, and as soon as you turn it, your eye catches what is wrong or unbalanced if you want to balance the piece. So there's several good reasons to turn it. And I do that with the large canvases too. I just flip them over on the easel. And of course with large canvases, it's good always to step back. Do a little bit of painting and then step back and evaluate what you've done and what looks good next to it, and how it's going along. So I put sort of the light green in first just to outline where the leaves will be, and then I go back in sometimes with a different green, but always to make a little depth to those, in this case, leaves. I'm leaving the top part of that base open because I plan to go in with the titanium white and make a kind of smoke. I don't know if it's called smoke when a genie comes out of the bottle. Anyway, I want to do that piece, and that will come up into that little gold skirt area. I'm just noticing that I only have one bee in this painting. I like to have bees where the flowers are, but I don't usually have fish, so maybe I've decided on that. And just darkening the edges around the face to get a little bit more distinct coloring next to that. It seemed to be kind of fading into the next. And now we're going to try to flatten out those ripples. Okay, and as you can see, this is a very rippled painting because I didn't tape it down, which happens. I just started painting it. So I'm going to show you how you flatten this out. So I have a Frederick's panel, the back of it, and you just lay this down, okay? And I'm going to take a spritzer, water spritzer, and just gently spritz the back of this. Without moving it too much. And I just make sure that the water is pretty even. And you can see that it's kind of buckling up even now. And that's fine. Okay? And then I'm going to take, let's see, one of my sketch pads. And I'm going to lay it down over that painting. And then I'm going to put a weight on top of it. The weightiest thing I have is this guy, dictionary. And I'm going to leave that overnight. And we'll take a look at the painting tomorrow. So let's see how this went. This is the next morning. I left it overnight, taking off the dictionary and my sketchbook pad. I also put a piece of wax paper between the sketchbook pad and the painting. And the painting feels quite dry on the back. So I'm just going to peel that away and see how it looks. And it looks very flat. Perfect. Quite pleased with that. So if that ever happens to you, you have anything that's rippled and it's on canvas paper or watercolor paper, try that technique. And sometimes it's just easier for me than to tape it down originally, but whatever works for you, that's great. I hope this technique was helpful to some. So thanks everybody for watching, painting your pieces, and we'll see you next week.